Bye-bye, Rebecca. Enjoy your leave. We'll see you in a few weeks' time. These leopards are dozing very contentedly. I think you should go. It seems as though Stef is actually treating you to an arachnophile's fantastic morning. I'm not entirely sure though.
I am, and we spoke a little bit earlier about crab spiders being one of, or the six-eyed desert crab spider as being one of the most dangerous of the South African spiders. Well, I have a crab spider here, and very similar to those leopard that you were having a look at with Jamie, these crab spiders are ambush specialists. These spiders, and there she is over there, basically hang around flowers, and they can actually change their color to a degree to mimic the flower's background that they're on. This particular spider has chosen a light greenish color, and I think it's because she likes to hang around at the base of these flowers, these Waltheria flowers. And what she's looking for is to catch a pollinator. You can see that the 4 front legs are very, very much more well developed or much more muscled than the 4 back legs are. And that's because she uses those very robust front legs to grip flying prey and then to bite it. And similar to the six-eyed desert crab spider, which is of significant medical importance to humankind, this particular crab spider is of significant importance to flying insects in that the venom from this spider acts almost instantaneously to paralyze a flying insect. It can literally paralyze a fly or a bee within a couple of heartbeats. And that is significant. It means that that venom has evolved over the centuries to do that. Now, why that is unlike a web-based or web-living spider, a web-based spider, the spider has to hold on to the prey with its front legs and therefore can be bitten or stabbed by a sting. And so she needs to overcome those animal defenses very quickly. So she holds on to the flying prey, bites it, and that then almost instantaneously disables the flying prey. She then moves to the bottom side of the leaf and finishes off her meal. One of the most highly evolved spiders that we have out here is this crab spider, and deadly to flying insects. Not so deadly to us, luckily, but deadly to flying insects. I'm going to put her back up here so that you can see how we saw her. I'm just going to let the plant go. That's how she's hanging around. Quite often what they'll do is they'll stick out their front legs and they'll hold them out in front of them, almost sort of like if you were to hold your arms out to your sides and slightly forward. That's how they do it. Very, very nice spider. I quite enjoy these crab spiders, to be honest with you. Now I want to see if she's got an attending male. Now, Michael, you've asked me why a male spider is so much smaller than the females, and in no species that I've ever met is it more prominent than in these crab spiders. I'm going to answer your question obliquely, Michael. The male crab spider is so small that you'd probably need a magnifying glass to see him properly. Now, you see her spinnerets. Let me just turn her around over there without her biting me. There on her back, that discolored right at the back of her abdomen on the bottom side is a colored, like a slightly darker color. The male crab spider is no bigger than that, and he literally gets away with being eaten by being so small as to pass completely unnoticed in the female. Now, quite often this time of the year, you'll find males stuck to the bottom of the female spider. And I'm just going to turn her around to see if I can see him. She doesn't have a male on the bottom of her. Actually, I'm not too sure, actually. No, she doesn't have a male. Quite often you'll see these tiny, tiny little males stuck underneath the females, and they literally are microscopic compared to the female. Like I said, they use the fact that they're so small to escape notice and basically walk around like a parasite in her body, and therefore can fertilize her. Now, Michael, just to answer your question a little bit more, I suppose concisely, male spiders because spiders are so primitive, male spiders can quite often be confused with prey if they're not very careful. So spiders with good eyesight have a very elaborate dance, like jumping spiders have got pedipalps on the front of their faces that they can shift around in an almost dance. Other spiders can twang the webs of the females in a specific song, which allows the female to judge the difference. Like, that is not a fly stuck in the web, that's a male, by them strumming a song on the web. Other males, like in the case of this crab spider, are smaller than the female to avoid notice. But essentially there's a common thread here, and the common thread is they need to make themselves seem like males, or seem like nothing, to avoid being confused with prey so that the female doesn't eat them. Now some spiders take it to the complete other side of the scale. Some spiders will actually sacrifice themselves to the female, and while she's busy eating him, he's busy mating with her. And that way he gets to lock his spermatophore inside of her body, and even though he sacrifices his life, he's managed to seed the next generation of spiders with his gene pool. Now I know that sounds a little bit it's over the top, really, to be quite honest with you, but that is just the lengths that male spiders will go to in order to, or males in general will go to, in order to make sure that their genes are the ones that go forward into eternity, rather than a competitor who wasn't willing to make that leap, that final leap. Would I go that far and feed myself to my wife? No, although in some cases I suppose it could argue that that is exactly what happened, I suppose. Let's leave this crab spider, carry on with our day. Now, sorry, Louise, could you just repeat our viewer's name again for that question? Swapler? Excuse me there, it's just I haven't, for some reason, sometimes some tones of voices I can't hear, and this is one. So it's Swapla or Swapda. You just asked me, why is it called a crab spider? That's actually quite a good question, but I got a funny feeling it's because of those very robust front legs that they've got. They mimic the very robust front legs of a crab. Obviously crabs have got those pincers on the front of them, and the front of their bodies are a little bit more developed than what the backs of their bodies are. And as you saw from that particular spider, their 4 front legs are much more robustly developed than their 4 back legs are, and I think that's probably where they get their name from. It's got no other association. They don't have pincers on their legs, and they also don't have flaps that they keep their babies in on their bellies, or live in water or by the sea or anything like that, to be quite honest with you. So I think it's just because of their legs. One thing I do want to show us, let's see if this woodland kingfisher is going to give us a bit of a display. Now, when these kingfishers return from Central Africa, they're very wild, and it takes almost the entire summer to be able to get close to a woodland kingfisher on foot. But especially ones that are utilizing camps like ours as a source for food under lights and in water bodies, etc., etc., they do tame up quite nicely. In this particular case, we're nowhere near a camp. We're probably about 2 miles from a camp. Ah, there he goes. Now, let's see if we can get you a little bit closer. He's not actually moving away from us. He's busy displaying at another male kingfisher in the area. But what I'm trying to say is that by the end of summer, which is we will reach the end of summer in the next 6 weeks or so, these kingfishers are going to be flying back to Central Africa, and we won't see them again until December of this year. And now is the best chance to get close to them on foot, and it's quite magic spending time with something that's taken you a whole season to try and get under observation, I suppose. Where's this one gone? I want to try and get us onto the right sun side. No, he's flown off without even showing us where he flew to. Pretty rude for that woodland kingfisher, but anyway, we're going to carry on with our walk and see if we can find something else interesting to show you. You are off to visit Taylor, who's sitting with us, hyena.
We are
Ribbon has got up. She just left just a moment ago. So I just thought we'd have a very, very quick look at these cubs before we move off. And they've decided to play around with a stick. Now, I definitely won't be hanging around now, especially not that Mom is not here. It's not good, even though they're quite comfortable with us, is that I just would prefer Mom to be around, especially because these cubs are so young. So we did reposition earlier. They finished suckling and one went to sleep. And then they started waking up, which was really, really, really nice. But I hope Ribbon decides to come back. But I've also seen it a lot where hyenas sort of just go, I just need a break. Especially from these little cubs, they can be quite rough. And often they'll just go sit just off in the distance just to get a little bit of, well, some alone time. But she's been out scavenging, and I suppose she has a duty. She needs to come and suckle her little ones, and they've had a big feed, and now the energy is booming. We'll see if they come out once more. But they were naughty. Mom told them, you stay in that den. And she disappeared, and one ran out and tried to follow her, which was really funny. And then sort of came running back with its tail between its legs. There we go. Here they come. Now they've popped their heads out again. You can just see a little ear moving around. And a little face. No, come back out. I think they will. I think they're getting ready. They're just going in and out of the den now. But they've found sticks. They're dragging all sorts of things around at the moment to try and keep them entertained. But also with them being so young, they don't have massive energy bursts. Sometimes they play around for just a couple of minutes before they go back and have a little snooze. And they came running down on the pathway, and they came out onto that little bald patch that you can see just in front of the termite mound, which was lovely. They were probably about maybe 8-9 feet from the vehicle, which is really good. So they're getting so used to us so quickly, and well, that's why we don't really want to push it. So I think we're going to leave now that they've decided that they're not going to come out again. And with Mom not being here, I think it's a good time to move. So they're safely in their little burrows, so we'll pull out. That was so cool. What a wonderful sighting. Bye, little hyena cubs. See you tomorrow, or maybe this afternoon. We'll try our luck again, but that was really, really nice. I'm so happy with the short time that we did spend with the cubs. I think we have impacted them positively, which is so exciting. And I wonder who is going to be the first person to have a little hyena cub come up and sniff their tires, because I know they will be gleaming with joy. But I'm not sure what Jamie's up to now. I don't know if she's still with those leopards, but I think it's about time we go and find out what she's got planned for you for the rest of the morning.
I've left the leopards for now, since there's quite a few people that wanted to come in to see them. And I'm on my way to go and see whether or not the Nkuhumas have moved away from where they were yesterday on the sunset safari. Brian, in that sort of blackened part of the marula tree, there is a hole. And in that hole is a bird's nest. I found it yesterday on bushwalk, and I heard them chirping away. But we were quite preoccupied with the schools and entertaining them yesterday afternoon, so I wasn't really able to sit patiently and wait for the bird to come back. You can see there's a little bit of excrement there, which is a telltale sign that that is inhabited. And they were chirping frantically yesterday afternoon. I want to see what bird it is. I'm very curious. And the adults should come back and feed the chicks. Now they've gone completely silent though. Let's see whether or not we can get an idea as to who it might be. My suspicion is kingfishers, woodland kingfishers. I don't know why I say that. I think it's just because I've heard quite a few baby woodland kingfishers around. Could be anything though. That hole was probably made by either a woodpecker or a barbet. They're generally the ones that excavate their own holes. Louise would like to know, what do baby kingfishers sound like? Are they just a generic begging bird sound? Oh, the sun is so nice. They sort of squeak. I don't quite know how to describe it. Not as painful as the grating sound of the baby hornbills begging. But they don't do the full chirr sound. Come on, little baby birds. Stick your head out so we can see what you are. Yes, no? No. And I don't see any adult birds around us. Oh well, I'll keep checking. Don't know. Not quite sure exactly what it is. Let's go and see what else we can find. If, depending on how the drive goes, there's now a hornbill. Could also be a hornbill. Depending on how the drive goes, we'll probably pop back round to those leopards at the end of our sunrise safari on the way home and just enjoy a little bit more time with them. But all three of them are fast asleep. It was interesting that those baby birds were so noisy yesterday when we walked past. I don't know if they thought we were parents returning and they were trying to beg for food, but it's quite a poor strategy on their part. One would think that that would attract negative attention, and they're lucky that that harrier hawk hasn't been around here in a while, because that would be the perfect nest for it to raid. I haven't seen that harrier hawk around quarantine for a long time. Harrier hawk is a specialized bird of prey that raids nests and holes and hollows in trees in search of baby birds, baby squirrels, bush babies. Snake once. I saw one flying across here with a 3-foot long snake. Which way should we go? Let's go this way. Sorry, turtle doves. Let's go and see what the Nkuhumas have been up to. I'm a bit concerned they might have crossed into Simbambili. I haven't heard anybody talking about them. I know Taylor checked the western boundary this morning. There's no sign of them crossing into Djuma. Let's go and find out what's happening on Arathusa. And of course there's always the chance when we go that side that we might bump into Shadow. I know Tristan had a brief but lovely sighting with her, so she's alive and well, and he said looks like she's lactating. So probably her cubs are absolutely fine somewhere, just completely hidden. What you got, Hornbill? Has it got something in its beak, or am I... No, it doesn't. I'm imagining things. I thought it had a beetle dangling out of the end of its bill. Prehistoric looking creatures. And they always have a slightly manic expression. Alright, Hornbill. For our new viewers that have perhaps just discovered these live safaris, one of the things that we encourage our viewers to do, I don't think they need any encouraging though, I think it's something quite fun to do, it's a bit like a treasure hunt, is to keep a bird list of the various birds that you see on these live safaris, and you can keep adding to it. Some of our viewers have gone up over 200 bird species, and it's quite a fun way of learning the different birds as well, especially if you include screenshots with it. And there's the exciting prospect of adding new and very different birds to our lists in the future. Now that hole could potentially be a hornbill nest. I don't think it is, but it could potentially be because... Sorry, Lou, did I hear that? Oh, look at that. Oh, no. Hey. Hello, little Korhann. I don't think I've ever seen one this small. How sweet is that? Whoa, where'd you go, Mum? Wait for me, Mum. Look at those powerful little leggies of yours. Little baby red-crested Korhann. Mum, where'd you go? You vanished. You vanished in the grass. Mum, Mum, help. This grass is impenetrable. It's an impenetrable forest. There we go. Off the Korhann goes. That was a really nice surprise, speaking of baby birds. That was a first for me on these live safaris. Never seen a baby red-crested Korhann before. What a special surprise. Obviously, as a ground nesting bird, it hatches precocial. So it's very, very well developed. I'm just going to go nice and slowly so we don't scare it away from Mum. The birds that hatch in hollows in trees and in nests are altricial, underdeveloped. Ground nesting birds, precocial. There's mum. There disappears mum. Chick went off to the right. Can't see. There it is. Hi, little one. Isn't your camouflage beautiful? Like a little miniature version of the adults. And speaking of altricial and precocial chicks, I was just about to answer a question about, is it true that the hornbills will seal themselves into a nest? And I'm sorry, I can't remember who that came from, but it is absolutely the case. Shmama? I think that's what Lou said. They will. The females will lose their primary flight feathers and their tail feathers, and they'll be sealed in with solidified mud around the entrance to the hole, and they will lay the eggs, incubate the eggs, and the chicks will hatch. And as soon as her flight feathers have grown back, then she'll break out and she'll help the male to feed. But right up until that point, she is entirely reliant upon him to help keep her and the chicks alive, which is why part of the whole courting ritual of hornbills is to bring each other, well, actually the male brings her gifts of food to prove that he can, that he'd be a suitable provider for her during that time of confinement. One last view? Let's try one last view. This is one bird that has probably been responsible for several near heart-stopping moments on bushwalk, when you go wandering past and all of a sudden they come bursting out of the bushes next to you. Let's go and find out if Stef has had any encounters this morning.
Have a look at this mat of grass. I'm going to answer Jamie's question right now. This grass is literally up to my armpits. Isn't that fantastic? Take a screenshot now, for those of you who are long-term viewers and will continue to watch this. Take a screenshot of how tall this grass is. I'm a 6-foot human being, and that grass is underneath my armpit, because this is about as tall as grass gets. Gets a little bit thicker after very wet years, but this is just so epic to see. Isn't this amazing? Long grass here. Now to answer Jamie's question, I have had a scary encounter this morning. We bumped into a buffalo, which we haven't seen on foot in months here, and it ran away from us, thundering into the grass. We only literally saw head up this huge buffalo bounding through the bush, and we promptly turned around and walked in the opposite direction. But what I actually wanted to show you was this torchwood. Now, torchwood, or Balanites genus of trees, is something you're going to be seeing us talking about when we move into the Mara. One of the most prominent trees on the actual Mara plains is a type of torchwood, a type of Balanites. Whereas here the trees that dominate the skyline are Marula and Knobthorn. They're the two trees that dominate the skyline is Boskia and Balanites. Isn't that something? And another one called the Warburgia, but we'll talk more about that when we're in Kenya. This particular tree, though, I quite enjoy, is that I always learn something new about this tree. It's called a torchwood because the seed contains quite a flammable oil that burns with a nice bright yellow flame, and because of that oil was used as a torch. So a couple of seeds were put into a bundle of wood, and then you light the bundle of wood, and as the oil comes out of the seed, it makes the torch burn a little bit brighter and longer as well. But another thing is that this tree's bark is harvested and sold on markets all over Africa, and the reason for it is that it's saporific. In other words, it contains saponins, but not just saponins. The bark and the compounds in the bark also contain compounds which make quite a refreshing wash. So if you drink it, it's an emetic. In other words, you're going to drink it and you'll vomit. Now, a lot of people drink emetics to clean their system. It's similar to taking, I suppose, a laxative. It has the same effect. It's a cleansing function. So an emetic, this is one of the trees that they use as an emetic. So they drink a little bit, and while they're waiting for it to work, they quite often wash with the rest of the wash made from the bark. you can take pieces of this bark and put it into water and agitate the water, and it'll start to foam up, and it leaves your skin feeling quite tingly. And because of that, because of this quite refreshing wash that this tree's bark provides, these trees outside of the protected areas, outside of the reserves, are actually quite rare. Now, for that reason, I'm not going to collect any bark to show you how when you agitate the water, the soapiness comes out. I'll wait until I find a tree that's been damaged by a storm or by an elephant or something before I show you that. In other words, I'll use a tree that's already been damaged rather than damaging this tree. But yes, these trees are damaged to the point where they actually are killed outside here, and a lot of trees like this don't exist in the bush. But excuse me, if you were going to collect bark from this tree, as the legend would go, as a very, very dear friend of mine taught me, that you only collect from the eastern side. Now, we've got the sun poking up through the grass over here and through the trees. That is east that you're looking at the moment, and so you only collect on the eastern side of the tree. So what they would do is they would hack into the tree with their knives, score the bark from here to about here. You'd then take your axe or your knife, you'd bash it into the wood, and you'll see that a chunk of this wood comes off, and then they cut it into strips and bundle it up with some grass, and then that is taken to the market and sold for, you know, a couple of cents per kilogram, I suppose, or whatever the price is of Balanites wood. People would then buy it, take it home, agitate in a water, drink a mouthful of the water, and while they're waiting for it to make them sick, wash with the rest of it. Leaves their skin feeling nice and refreshed, leaves their tummies feeling nice and, I suppose, empty, but also in a way purged, and that would have an effect on your mind to let you feel cleansed and refreshed and nice. And that's what you do with torchwood, one of my favorite trees out here. And I know James also quite enjoys the torchwood tree. My favorite fruit. This year, for the first time, we had decent amount of fruits falling from the Balanites tree that had a lot of flesh on them, and I've spent quite a lot of time peeling Balanites fruit and popping them into my mouth on the walks over the last couple of months. They taste very similar to dates or sultanas. So a sultana that you've left in the sun, or a date that you've left in the sun a little bit, the fruits of this particular tree, so very sweet and very sugary, lovely to sit there. So this was one of the late summer specials. Of course, the ever-present marula was also quite nice. One of my other favorites is the sour plums, Armenia. They're also very nice. We didn't have any last year, we had very few this year here, so I'm hoping next year will be better for the Armenia. Of course, the white berry bush, guaris, brown ivory has got a very nice sweet tasting fruit. The jacket plum has got a fruit which I think I did eat it on walk definitely a couple of months ago. There was one or two very sweet tasting fruits as well. What else? I can't think of anything else at the moment. Oh, jackalberry, of course. And that's about that for edible fruits out here. Of my favorites would be sour plum, and then this year my particular favorite was the Balanites tree, as you can see now in the distance over there. Now, on that note, why don't we send you over to Taylor to see what she's up to.
I'm having fun and games with Craig at the moment. I'm telling him which birds these are, and then, well, confusing him, but then at the end saying that I don't know what they are, but these are 3 banded plovers. There's a pair of them wandering around. We're actually quite close to twin dams, and they are feasting at the moment, but there's actually a lot happening over here. We've got this little ones, and we'll show you the Hadeda in a moment. Where's the other plover? The other plover's now hiding behind the long grass. Now, I don't know if they have a nest around here. Typically, they'll make their nests at the water's edge. And I suppose this is quite a nice area to pick for little insects, because you've got grass. And then if they leap, oh, well spotted, there's the other one. If they leap out of the grass, they'll very clearly land on the road, which will make it easy for these little insects, or these birds to eat those insects. And then we've got the Hadedas, Mr. and Mrs. Hadeda. I wonder if they are the same pair that we'd seen that made that big nest and had those chicks in the jackalberry tree not far from here. But here they are, probing away. looking for tasty morsels. Oh, there we go. The one on the left definitely got something. Now, we've been seeing a lot of hoopoes, African hoopoes at the moment, probing the ground. And it's a lot easier, I think, for a Hadeda to catch little insects because they've got a much larger bill, and I can imagine that their sensory nerve that they have running down the center of their bill might be a bit more powerful than that of a hoopoo. Hello, guys. Working hard. And I think that's actually a good spot. This ground is so soft here. It's lovely and soft. They'll be picking out lots and lots of grubs. Now, we've been seeing so many birds at the moment. All the migrants and all the ones that hang around here. And Michael, you were actually asking if the birds get more scarce going into winter once all the summer birds have left. Not necessarily scarce. You just don't see as many birds. You still see good old Hadedas and all the different types of doves and the magpie shrikes and the drongos. So those birds are all still around. But most of them would have left. So you just stop seeing warburgs, you stop seeing the stepped eagles, the woodland kingfisher goes about. It actually becomes quieter. That's what it does. It doesn't necessarily become that you're seeing less and less birds, but the sounds, especially from the woodland kingfisher, really does take over the bush at this time of the year during our summer. And I suppose it's just going to have to be replaced by this beautiful Hadeda. It makes the most ridiculous noise. Oh, there we go. You see that I pulled an earthworm out of the ground. Don't eat too many of those earthworms. They're good for the soil. I suppose they need to eat too, though. But it's just amazing. I would love to know how much of the day that Hadedas spend probing about, and also how successful they are. Because every time you watch a Hadeda, you always see them pulling up little beetles or worms or grubs from the soil. They are incredible at finding these little critters that live below the ground. I mean, if you had to go and dig around in the garden, I don't think I'd find maybe 1 or 2 beetles in an hour. Whereas, look there, it's got something. That was another earthworm. You can almost see when it's pulling a worm out of the ground. It sort of probes it in, finds it, pulls it out a little bit, jabs its beak back into the surface and makes sure that it pulls it all the way out like a piece of spaghetti. Oh, so Jamie is looking for the Nkuhuma Pride. I just need to tell Louise. Louise, they were on Parallel Road North, quite close to the cut line. And I think if Jamie goes in from Triple M onto Parallel Road and then makes her way sort of back south, she should see there's a very prominent 2-track going south again. And that's where they were laying. Just had to relay that message very quickly to Louise. Hadedas, don't worry. There we go. So hopefully Jamie will find the lions for all of you. Right. Oh, hang on. Craig, there looks like there's a pin-tailed Whydah just over there. Hang on, go down a little bit. Go down to the left. Go. There it is. Look. A pin-tailed Whydah. That's so cool. Really, really nice little birds. You often see them in your gardens in South Africa, especially if you have a bird feeder. They'll be around. And they are funny to watch because they dominate around areas and gardens. They will chase away all the other birds. And this is a male, and he's got his breeding plumage on at the moment, which is that very, very long tail. But he'll lose that. When he's not breeding, he doesn't have that beautiful tail. But you might be able to hear him. He's singing about at the moment, obviously trying to get somebody's attention. Look how he's showing off, ruffling his feathers, saying, "Hey ladies, look how good I'm looking this morning." Now I wonder, I'm trying to see if I can see a female hanging around. There must be one that he's spotted, or maybe a few of them. Hey, let's try get another view. I'm going to go down a bit further. I'd love to get a closer view of him. This is a beautiful, absolutely beautiful bird. Don't fly away now, we'll just get it different. There we go. Look, there he is. Look, watch him. See, he's doing his display. He's chasing after a female. Did you see that? Ah, he's just gone. So he actually spotted a female. It was really amazing. So this little female flew around. So that's obviously what got him excited. Now that's not the same bird that we're looking at. This is a different bird. This is a Battis. Where is our friend now? The reason why I want to show you, because the exaggerated movement that bird does when he spots a female, and that's why he was ruffling his feathers and he was chirping, is because he'd seen her. He was trying to win her over, and she flew towards him. It happened very quickly, and then he started flying above her, but very slowly, and it was just incredible. And he looked beautiful, really. We'll see if we can get another view of him. I think he's ducked around the corner, but we're going to send you across to Jamie now, who's on the search for the Nkuhumas on Arathusa.
Thankfully, Taylor, a search that has been made a great deal simpler by your very concise instructions, and it sounds as though they are very, very close to where we had them for the final installment of our television show with VM and myself. That was a very interesting morning. Soaking wet, looking for the lions. It was actually chaos. It was total chaos. I hope it didn't come across. I think apparently it didn't. But that morning really was total chaos, wasn't it, Brian? Yeah. Brent kind of balanced on a termite mound to try and find signal. Vildy and myself covered pretty much our entire traverse area at the speed of light. It was an interesting one. But when we saw them here, they were skittish. It might have been the Matimbas. The Torchwood Pride have been on Buffelshoek a lot recently as well. I'm hoping one day they come south so we can see them. Apparently they've got 10 cubs or something like that, which would be really special to see. But it does mean that it's probably made what's made our Nkuhumas a little bit jumpy. We should be getting close. This road is about to disappear. If we get more rain, this road is going to be gone. It's going to be uncrossable. Uncrossable. A good point, Lou. Uncrossable for everybody but us. Sometimes having a short wheelbase car has its distinct advantages. Okay. Always forget how long this road is. Go through the, must be just on the other side of this dip. If it is where I think it is, it's quite a tricky area. Apparently they're exactly where Taylor had them yesterday afternoon. It'd be very nice if they were here in this open patch. But alas, I fear not. Every time I think that the sun is coming out, there's more clouds and it gets colder. This has been a very strange summer. Okay, I'm just start paying attention here. It's very close to the cut line. It's probably on the other side. Oh, no, it's not. This is it. That's relatively clear. Oh, goodness gracious, it's in here. I can see them, though. Goody. Hello, ladies. Still no sign of amber eyes on the young female. There you go. Lions in Tabuites. Hello, girls. Let me just try and work out what's going to be best here. 1 lioness, 2 lioness, 3 lioness, and cubs. in here. Let's start with the cubs. Although I don't know if Brian's got a view there, or you're so much higher than me. Best view we ever did have, Brian. Hello, sweetie. Here we go, our bundle of lions. Presumably all 6 cubs. Is that another? No, it's just a really big cub. I was about to say, I thought there was another lioness here, but it's just quite a large cub. So it's still the 3 of them. No sign of their 2 missing pride mates. Be nice to see them reunited once again. Okay, this is a shocking position. Okay, let's try it from a different angle. 2 lionesses over there. One thing that's quite sad is that our Nkuhuma Cubs don't play like they used to. They've got too large now. They seem to want to spend their days lazing. It seems as though Taylor has achieved her goal. I'll try and get us a better view. Let's go and have a look at what she's got.
I wonder if those lions are in the same spot as we had them yesterday, because if they are, it's a very tricky spot to get a view. But we managed to get a view of our pin-tailed Whydah, which I'm super impressed by, because I thought he'd flown away as he was in hot pursuit of a female. But he settled down, still very excited, chatting away, ruffling those feathers, trying to show off. I think his lovely lady has sat down in the grass below him. So we'll see if he decides to fly back down. And then you have to watch very, very carefully the way that he sort of exaggerates his movement. It is unbelievable. And he sort of hovers, but not hovering like a black-shouldered kite can, or a pied kingfisher can hover without the aid of the wind. He sort of just bounces around. And it is amazing. So I'm hoping that he does decide to do it again, because it is really, really special to see. Come on, boy, go back down and show us what you are made of. But isn't he lovely? Here he goes. Look, look, look. There he is. He's just gone here. There he goes again, Craig. There he is. Come on, Craig. Let's see. It's really amazing. I don't know if you managed to see the way that he flew there. There he goes again. Look, look, look. Oh, there he goes. He's on the right. He's on the right. Is he? Oh, he doesn't want to go chasing after a girl, which would make it so much easier. Oh no, so Safari Dean, you're wondering how long does it take that male to grow those long feathers? I can't imagine that it would take very long at all. Maybe a couple of weeks or so. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever seen a pin-tailed Whydah, the male, sort of in the in-between stages of developing those long feathers. But I'd say a couple of weeks or so before they know. Remember, they start developing them in the summer months, so there is a lot of food around as well. So I think with the abundance of food around, it allows them to produce those feathers pretty quickly. But he's back up again. He's on the top branch, just resting. There he is. He's still just sitting in the same spot, exactly where you are, Craig. There he is. You just see those branches moving slightly. Can you hear him singing? It's a very pretty call. So it's amazing. This bird is not only using his beautiful plumage that he has developed, but also he's got a lovely singing voice too. So he's got a lot going for him. This is wonderful. It's a pity we couldn't get the female is hiding away, because it would be nice to show you the difference. Maybe while you have a look at him, let me pull up a picture on my mobile of this bird. Let me have a quick look. Let me go to Whydah so we can see the differences between the males and the females. Whydah. That's all the way at the end. No, there we go. Right. Oh, so the females have got a similar beak. Little red bit. Here we go. Right, that's a non-breeding male. Here's the female. Okay, I'm ready for you. Here's a picture for you to have a look at. So you can see, very different in color, though the male, when he's not breeding, is a similar mottled color, but look at that big black stripe across or above her eye, and then also a slightly red beak, but not as pretty. I'm going to go slide back one. There we go. There is a non-breeding male. So you can see he loses all of that white that he's developed, just the breast, but on his wings they go almost completely black, and then that beak becomes bright red, and of course he gets those very, very long tails as well. So it's amazing. At different times of the year, you could see these birds looking completely different. And if you were new to this area, you probably wouldn't even know what it is. But he's gone. He's flown away now. So we're going to jump back across with Stef and Herbie and VM on foot. And, well, I wonder if Stef's managed to pick up on any other spiders or creepy crawlies to show you.
Oh, as you came to us, as it so often would happen, as this words you live happen, the animal that I want to show you flies away. But it has landed over here. Now, I want to show you this in particular. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer. There's what appears to be a wasp right here. But as I've learned recently, and literally just this summer, that looks can be quite deceiving. What looks like a wasp may indeed be a fly. And the only way that you can tell is when you get really close. You have a look at the base of the wing. And there, if it's a fly, it should have these two paddle-like projections that come out just behind the base of the wing. Now in this particular case, I cannot see anything. So this is a wasp, which makes me a bit nervous because I'm quite allergic to bees and I've got my face mere inches away from this thing, and they can be quite aggressive. But just while we're on the topic of wasps and bees and ants are your most evolved insects. They have the most evolved social structures. They also got the most evolved ways of breeding and communicating with one another, and their attack strategies. These wasps, quite often they are nectivores. In other words, they feed on plants and pollen, while their babies are carnivorous. And so the adults, although need to eat pollen, are also formidable hunters, so that they can catch prey for their babies and feed it to them. And they all have, in some cases, wasps are keyed to a very specific type of insect only. In the case of the fig wasp, the fig and the wasp are chained to one another. The fig wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the fig wasp, and the fig wasp wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the fig. And so they've evolved together. There we go, there's that wasp disappeared now. It's just such a fantastic way to look at things. Now, I don't know nearly enough about wasps and bees and all these types of creepy crawlies, even though some days it feels like there's too much to learn, to be honest. Costa, you wanted to know what are the most dangerous insects to humans in the park. I would have to say, Costa, that probably the Anopheles mosquito holds the most danger for people in the park, in that it transmits the disease or the parasite malaria. Or the disease malaria that is given to you by a parasite. Now, malaria kills many millions of people per year in Africa still today. And this area that we live in is quite a high malaria area. But malaria needs two things to proliferate. It needs a high concentration of Anopheles mosquitoes, female Anopheles mosquitoes, and it needs a high concentration of people. In this particular place where we are now, we have a high concentration of Anopheles mosquitoes, but we don't have a high population of people. Even though I suppose the closest villages are in that direction there, probably about 10 miles from where we are now, 10-15 miles of where we are standing now, the closest villages start. In that direction, there's no people for near on 100 miles before you start to get people. So yeah, where we are now, although on the fringes and malaria is prevalent in the lodges where we are at the moment, it's not something that we worry too much about out here. I mean, I've been living here for 18 years. I have had malaria once, but it hasn't stopped me from sleeping with my windows open, you know, sitting outside enjoying an apple juice around the fire and all those other things that come with living in Africa, all the benefits of living in Africa. So I would say definitely the answer to your question is the Anopheles mosquito. I suppose you wanted to hear something a bit more macabre, and then I would think that the black hairy thick-tailed scorpion. So what you can go and have a look at is the Parabuthus transvalicus. So for those of you that have a bit of time and won't crash your your cars or whatever driving around, type in Parabuthus transvalicus and have a look at that scorpion. That is the black hairy thick-tailed scorpion that occurs in this area as well. That thing stings you and it's the end of days. Well, it feels like that anyway. It honestly feels like you've taken the red hot tip of a piece of wire and shoved it into your arm. A friend of mine that has been stung by one said he can imagine the pain similar to taking a piece of wire, heating it up in a fire until it was red hot, and then inserting it slowly through his eardrum, was how he explained how painful the actual sting of one of these particular scorpions are. They occur here. That's why I don't walk around barefoot at night time in the camp where we are, and that thing stings you, and like I said, it's the end of days. Alright, come and have a look over here. I don't know what, this isn't going to be very long. It's going to literally be a couple of seconds before we send you away to Jamie. But this is the first day that I'm seeing these particular moths on these leaves. I haven't seen them before. I don't have a clue what moth that is. I'm just loving the colors on it at the moment. So just let me get you a clear shot. Clear out some of the grasses and the bushes there. So that moth of unknown species literally has hatched in the last couple of days here. I haven't seen them this season just yet. Haven't seen them at all just yet, in actual fact. Right, and on that unknown fact, why don't we send you over to Jamie, who's sitting with those lions.
I'm sure that one of you will be able to figure out exactly which moth Stef has been looking at. Stef, of course, was responsible for finding us the lions during our TV show the last time they were here, and was basically exactly where we are now. That's where Stef came out to meet me on the road when he was on foot. We've got our lionesses. They are thoroughly sleepy. They don't seem to be up to too much. One of them's up and stretching, and they're having a little bit of a clean and a lick. Always good to catch up with our Nkuhuma ladies. Sorry, Lou, who are the males of the Nkuhuma Pride? Did I hear that incorrectly? For some reason I'm struggling this morning. Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry, Cole. You want to know who are the ruling males over the Nkuhuma Pride. So the dominant males in this area are the Birmingham boys. They are the ones whose territory encompasses that of the females. And just to clarify for our new viewers, because this is a pretty common cause for confusion, a lion pride does not have a sort of resident male that stays with them all of the time, or a resident pair of males. A lion pride consists of females and their cubs. And once the male cubs reach sexual maturity, of course, they will disperse off. The females will generally stay within the pride for the rest of their lives. And then what happens is, throughout the course of the history of a pride, they will be dominated over, pretty much, by several different groups of males. So a male coalition, either a solitary male or a coalition of male lions, will get themselves a territory. They'll win themselves a territory. They'll be dominant over it for a number of years, during which time they will mate with several different females from several different prides, so father cubs with each of those prides, and then until they are essentially displaced by another group of males. So the current ruling members are the Birmingham boys. It's 4 male lions who I have not seen in a very, very long time. They seem to have made themselves quite scarce. They came racing onto Djuma the other night when the Matimbas were sitting on the main access road. They came racing in as the Matimbas started roaring, just to make sure that they didn't get any fancy ideas about coming back into their old territory, immediately sending the Matimbas moving back towards Manyeleti. But we haven't seen the Birmingham boys in a long time. Bob, you want to know when the Birmingham boys were last seen? By us? I don't know. Brian, when last did you see a Birmingham boy?
Not a long while.
I know, I think my last sighting was probably about a month ago. I mean, obviously they get seen pretty much every single day by other lodges that traverse different parts of this reserve. So they're around. I just haven't seen them on Djuma, Arathusa or Cheetah Plains in a very long time. We might have to pay a visit to Cheetah Plains this afternoon and go and see what's happening there. It's been quite a while since we've checked up on that particular side of things. I know that the sticks, of course, that is another lion pride that the Birmingham males are dominant over. The sticks have 4 brand new little cubs. I'm sure many of you have seen the pictures. They are very, very new and utterly adorable. Perhaps hopefully the Birmingham boys are hanging around, some of them at least, hanging around there, making sure that those lionesses feel safe, because any unknown male that comes in will kill cubs that have been sired by other male lions. It's just the law of the bush out here. Now the Nkuhumas also were looking a bit spattered and scratched, much like the Birmingham boys. The Birmingham boys have now become proper scarred male lions with stories to tell in the past 2 years, but the Nkuhumas were also looking a little bit tattered and a little bit scratched up, which is one of the reasons why we started speculating that perhaps they'd come into contact with another lion pride potentially. None of the injuries are serious. It's just all nicks and scars. They could also be hunting-related injuries. It's impossible for us to ever know. But that combined with their skittish behavior seems to suggest that they've had a confrontation with other lions. And the complete absence of amber eyes in that young female. It's quite common for lion prides to split up and then come together again. So it's nothing to be concerned about. I'm sure they will. One day we're going to drive around the corner and all 5 of them are going to be back together again. And Aussie Mum, there you go. You wanted to know why they haven't joined the rest of the pride. I don't know. It could be that they're coming into estrus again. The last time I saw... Amber Eyes can't be pregnant because I saw her mating... Oh, she could be pregnant, but not ready to give birth, because I saw her mating with one of the Birmingham boys during our 3rd TV show. So that would have been around the middle of January that we saw them. So she hasn't gone off to give birth. The younger female, I doubt it. Again, I doubt it, but it's possible. We just don't fully know. I think probably the strongest reason, or the strongest possible reason, is that it's because they've come into estrus. And then I think they get separated, and because the Matimbas have been around, the Nkuhumas have gone completely silent. We no longer hear them roaring, and that might also be why they haven't managed to find each other again, just because they've separated and now they are skittish, moving around and not making much noise. And it's a relatively tough thing to predict where the rest of the pride has gone if you've become separated. It's possible they just haven't found each other yet. But I don't know where Amber Eyes and that young female are. I haven't heard any reports of them for a while. And don't forget, for our new viewers, send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@WildEarth.tv. Sleepy, sleepy lions. All of our cats today have been well fed and very sleepy. It's a nice setting though. It's very pretty. There we go. James is on the same page as myself. It is very scenic here. It's tricky. It makes life very, very difficult for us because we're in quite an ecologically sensitive area. So you might have seen us follow wild dogs off-road or follow leopards off-road, and we go crashing over trees. That's because we've picked the species that we drive over very carefully. Young saplings that are going to spring back up and that are not of great value, but are very common. So we're not doing any damage by off-roading past them, especially not when you compare it to what elephants do. But in an area like this, we can actually do serious damage, which is why we can't just go bashing forward to try and get a better view of these lions. First of all, it would be very counterproductive, and second of all, we would squash all sorts of tambuotis, which we definitely don't want to do. Sorry, I'm sending you over to Stef with an insect with some kind of problem. I don't know what it is. Let's go and find out.
It has got some sort of fungal problems, although this isn't the fungal problems that you can fix with a little bit of foot powder. This particular fungal problem was terminal for this particular fly. And what we're having a look at over here is the victim of a fungus called cordyceps. Now, cordyceps is a fungus that is more prevalent in the forested areas and thickly forested areas, but occurs in subtropical areas like this as well. Usually associated with ants and ant colonies, but in this particular year, the first time I've ever seen, has affected flies. Now, thankfully it's affected flies because I don't think anything else was preying on flies this year. Because of the drought that we had last year, a lot of the predators' numbers were decreased to virtually insubstantial or inconsequential to the fly population, which just was massive this year. So basically what happens is this fungus infects a victim, in this case a fly, would live inside the fly's body, eventually affecting its brain, causing the fly to become deranged. And what would have happened is the fly would have then climbed from the ground up to a grass stalk, up to a plant, climbed to a point where it couldn't go any further, and then spasmed onto the grass. And there it would have died. And from there, the fungus then erupts out of the victim, out of the body, and its spores then float on the wind currents, affecting other flies in the area. And it can have a devastating effect on populations. I mean, whole colonies can be wiped out by this cordyceps fungus. Now, it's also, it creates a disease called Summit's disease, which I find so descriptive as to exactly what has happened over here with this particular fly. In that the derangement causes the insect affected to climb up towards the sun to a point where it becomes so deranged that it can't go further. It then spasms and holds onto a plant and dies. Isn't that just the most macabre, disturbing, amazing thing? Now, luckily, cordyceps doesn't affect humans. Otherwise, I definitely wouldn't be sitting over here speaking to you, to be quite honest. I'd be running for the hills. Can you imagine? Me climbing to the top of Whydah mast, dying there, and then having a bunch of mushrooms sprout from our body to waft over the DRC, infecting all my colleagues who follow a similar suit in the days and weeks after that. It just sounds bizarre. Anyway, that is the cordyceps victim flies that we've seen over the last couple of months and weeks, and something which I learnt about quite recently this year, in actual fact. Amazing. Watch out for some water behind you. These little pans have popped up everywhere, which are quite nice. These won't hold much in terms of water for long. I think we've still got some hot days coming along, but have a look at all the tadpoles that are at the edge of the water over here, all just eating the algae and getting some oxygen close to the water's surface. Isn't that cool? And there's even a spider. One of the wolf spiders has made its way out here and will be feeding on anything that falls into the water. Is these spiders. If I bump it, watch how it goes across the water. So you all get yourselves ready. This is going to happen pretty quick. Yeah, isn't that cool? Alrighty, let's send you over to Taylor and a zebra.
We've got an entire herd of zebra walking right past us. I'm going to duck down so you can see them running here. This is so cool. Look at the tiny little foal following behind. There's another even smaller one popping. It's going to come down. Look at that one. That one's so tiny. There, go straight in, Craig. Straight in the middle of your screen. There we go. Look at that tiny little one. Just hanging back with mom. Hello, little guy. And I think they've come running out of the bushes. I have a suspicion that Hosana and Shongile have moved away from quarantine because these zebras are very jumpy. And I can also hear a lot of birds alarming down in Philemon's dip. Go on, little one. Stretch those legs. Oh, that was so cool. How cool was that? It was a very, very quick and brief sighting. Actually, Craig, look, they're going all the way down the road. Let me try and turn my bum. Look how beautiful that shot is. Oh, that's so cool. Hi guys, bye-bye. All walking in a row, happily down the road. That is so lovely. Now we're going to go and investigate and follow up on these birds that are alarming now too. I just want to watch this tiny little zebra foal as it disappears over that big hump in the road. But like I said, when I first spotted them, they came charging out of the bushes. So I suspect that these leopards are around here. Whether Karula's with them, I'm not sure, but it's not unlike Korhann and Shongile to go on wander about. Let's go. Let's quickly go and investigate down here. And see. There were some very unhappy francolins, and the way that they were shouting, it sounded like they'd already flown up and sat themselves at the top of a tree to keep out of the claws of Korhann and Shongile, who would very much be excited by a bird. Let's see. It sounds like it's coming from in here. We'll just go and take it very slowly. Hang on. I'm going to take my earpiece out quickly. Yeah, where's this francolin? It's shouting, it's in here. There we go. Okay, I'm going to go around. I think we'll get a view of it just on the other side. Come on, kitty cats, where are you, naughties? We're just going past the water pump at the moment, and we've seen Shongile and Hosanna playing around here. They are intrigued by the unknown. Okay, and especially something that's got the human scent all over it. They'll be touching, well, wanting to smell and be very curious about that. I think let's go along Rebecca's and down into that dip very quickly. I think we should get a view there. It sounds like they're in here. There's a francolin going crazy. But it could also be for a big raptor. Maybe there's a martial eagle flying around here, or a snake. Let's see. Let's just stop and listen just for 2 seconds. It's gone very, very quiet at the moment. Now that francolin that was alarming is not alarming anymore. And it's almost impossible to spot these two if they are hiding in this long grass. So let's go down a bit further. I didn't see any tracks when I came through, so I'm not sure if they were moving on the road or if they were just moving along through the grass. Right, let's quickly go into this dip and have a quick look. Just check around here. I'm scanning. My eyes are working overtime at the moment. Okay. It would be nice if we could find that francolin just sitting somewhere. That would give us an idea as to where to look. Right, it seems as though we've had no luck just yet, but I'm going to keep circling around this area and I'm sure we'll come across the cubs. But let's go back across to Jamie in the Nkuhuma Pride.
That sounds like a good plan, since Brian and myself are not going to manage to get all the way back to the leopard cubs. I think it's a lovely idea if Taylor goes off in search of them. And we've got our lions. Apparently lots of you are asking about the rig on the front of our vehicle. I apologize. Hi. I do apologize. I should have mentioned it earlier. I'll just leave that there. I should have mentioned it earlier, but I completely forgot. That is a... Oh, goodness, man. Come here. There we go. That is a virtual reality rig. So, in other words, it is recording 360-degree videos that you can then watch from a headset or on your mobile device, and so on and so forth. And we've got 3 gentlemen who have arrived from the UK, and they are busy doing some exciting things with the footage that we're getting. The fluffy bit is a microphone, just by the way. So that's what that is. Earlier on, we set a separate rig up on a tripod and put it down just a little bit away from the leopards. It was very entertaining. And Shongile walked right up to it and kind of looked at it. Went to bop it. then changed her mind and wandered off. And that was the extent of the interaction with it. But it was quite funny watching her look at it. She's such a bold, curious little cat, that one. The way she is with people on foot is just the way she approaches life. Just comfortable. I'm thinking about whether or not we could get away with it with these lions. There'd be no point now, since they're quite tucked away and almost impossible to see. But I think it might be a little bit of a risk. There's a very good chance that they would chew it. But it does give us you know what Wild Earth and Safari Live is like. We're always looking for new and exciting ways to bring you the best possible view of the wildlife out here. Even if it means sitting underneath a bush willow, hey Brian?
Yeah.
That keeps wanting to smack us in the face. Molly, you want to know what the names are of the 3 lionesses that are present here? They don't have official names. It's generally not done to give lionesses, each individual lioness of a pride, a name. But it does make life easier in terms of keeping track. So whilst they don't have any official names, I can tell you that one is the oldest female in the Nkuhuma Pride. And then there are 2 younger females that I think are sisters, that this probably is their first litter of cubs for both of them. And they've both got sort of spotty noses. But they don't have official names. Amber Eyes is called Amber Eyes because she's got amber eyes and it makes her easily identifiable. It does create a slight misconception, I think, that the idea that Amber Eyes is quite unique in lions, when in fact it's not really. There's lots of lions out there with amber eyes. But Amber Eyes is she's earned her name just through how easy she is to distinguish from the others, and the role she's often taken in the various situations we found the Nkuhumas in, whether it's hunting or fighting and so on. She's quite a character, Amber Eyes. So we generally don't name the various females. We don't really, typically guides don't name hyenas either. But by naming the hyenas, it did make life a great deal easier for us to actually keep track of who was who in the clan and get a better idea, because it does get very complicated trying to say, you know, that one hyena that you saw once doing that, well, that's that hyena. It's a bit long-winded. But the lionesses don't have names. We know them each individually, though. We've spent so much time with this lion pride. The 2 lionesses, the young lionesses, I will always vividly remember the time when the Birmingham boys first came in, and the 2 lionesses were off on their own. They'd been separated. The Nkuhuma Pride got split up completely. It was actually quite sad and quite scary for them, and with the death of an adult lioness and then 2 sub-adults, one in February and one just after I started working here. Now, they were all split up, and the 2 youngest females had a buffalo carcass that they led us to in the middle of the most difficult block to get into. And by block, I mean the space between roads, the bush between roads. And that was when the Birmingham boys were still taking over, and Scrapper came out of nowhere. Scrapper, unfortunately, no longer with us. But he was the 5th member of the Birmingham boys, and he came dashing in and chased them off that carcass. And they looked so terrified and unsettled, which is why it's been such a nice change over the last few months to see them comfortable and confident. They've lost a little bit of confidence over the last few weeks. Not sure what's created this disturbance. It's strange how the wheel turns, and how when I first started working here, the Matimbas were their protectors, and the Birmingham boys were, or at least their familiar males, and the Birmingham boys were the new incomers who caused chaos and aggression. And now all of a sudden it's the complete opposite. The Birmingham boys have established themselves, they're the father of the cubs, and the Matimbas are not really welcomed by the lionesses anymore. It's all part and parcel. Lioness is fast asleep. It's a very nice, very peaceful way to spend a morning, but they are slowly putting me to sleep myself, so I might leave them and go off in search of other things for the last few moments of our sunrise safari. And hopefully we get to rejoin them a bit later. I'm hoping they come back onto Djuma. One fascinating thing I've noticed is that one of the cubs is still trying to suckle, which surprises me. I wouldn't have expected it. I would not have expected the lionesses to still be lactating. He tried. I don't think it was successful. It certainly gave it a go. There you go, Judy H. You're wondering if this cub was suckling. It's trying to. I don't think it's being very successful. You can see it's trying to lick the belly of mom, perhaps possibly to stimulate the milk, but I don't think these lionesses are lactating anymore. I've seen no signs of it. Yes, look at you. You've got big teeth now. You're a big lion. You must eat meat. So the instinct is still there, but the milk is not. And whilst it's been in this sort of suckling position, it's adopted the suckling position, nothing's actually happening. And while our lions settle in for a cozy morning, I'm going to leave them be. Let's go and find out where Taylor is.
I'm having absolutely no luck, unfortunately, finding the leopard cubs. They have given us the slip. I did go back around after sitting in the dip on Rebecca's and see if I could find those franklins, and I found those franklins. They came out of a tree with two of them, crested franklins that were making all of that noise. Then they seemed very relaxed, so I wonder if those leopards hadn't perhaps moved through there a little bit earlier, and maybe they gave the zebras a bit of a fright too, but I can't find them. We've driven the entire road of Ingwe Alley and we didn't pick up on any tracks or nothing coming through here. Those pesky cubs giving us the slip. Who have we got here? Ah, there's some really pretty birds. There's a fork-tailed drongo, and there also was a crested barbet, but it has now flown away. Isn't that lovely? I love these birds. I think that they are such incredible.
Oh, dearie me, it seems as though Taylor has disappeared off your screens, but never fear, you've caught me in mid-reverse. Let's do the next 15 minutes of this safari backwards. We're definitely not doing that. Sorry, it's a bit of a tricky manoeuvring area. There we go. Oh, goodness gracious me. That's going to be hugely unpleasant. Oh, it's all gone wrong. And there's a guide watching me reverse, having done this very badly. That's going to hurt me. Oh dear. Ow. Okay. People in the vehicle watching me with perplexed expressions. What is this woman doing? Here we go. How are we back there, Bebop? We've got space. Let me move out of his way. How's it?
Good, and you?
Good, thank you. Hi guys. Cool, enjoy. I'm gonna move out.
Do you have any buffalo in the north?
I haven't seen, I don't even remember what they look like.
Where are they?
Do you have any buffalo in the north? Nope. Well, except one. Stef found one this morning on foot, didn't he? Always an unpleasant surprise. Oh no, and Taylor had two yesterday. Oh dear. Misinformation. Taylor had two in Chile Pan yesterday. But there has been a serious drop in the number of buffalo sightings that we have. I think they've all moved north to north and east to grazing areas. There's been plenty of rain, the grasslands have recovered, and I suppose if you're a bulk grazer it makes sense. I cannot remember the last time I saw a breeding herd of buffalo. There we go. When Tristan last saw Shadow, she actually vanished into Simbombili, which is just to the north of us. But I haven't heard any reports of her. The other vehicles have got Saleheshe, which is Shadow's neighbour, a bit to the west of our traverse area. Saleheshe, cousin of Karula. She's off with Tiani. I haven't seen Saleheshe in a long time. That would also be really nice. She's a big girl. And for all of you for whom that was gobbledygook, I'm talking about leopards, female leopards. Alrighty, let's do a quick check of the northern boundary and then make our way back onto Djuma. I'm sad to hear the leopard cubs have moved. It's a pity. Perhaps they haven't gone far though. I doubt they've gone too far. Hopefully Taylor manages to catch up with them before the end of the drive. Which way should we go home, Brian? I don't know either. We came in on the power lines, so I suppose we should not go back on the power lines. Let us go this way. Oh, there we go. I wondered about the silence from Final Control. I'm sorry, Lou. My earpiece connection is not fully stable. What was she trying to say to me?
Comms test, comms test.
Comms test, comms test. Can you comms test me again, Lou? There we go. Got you back. My earpiece just needed some jiggling. Sorry. I wasn't completely ignoring you. I'm sure you're all wondering what Stef has been up to on foot. We have some squirrels that were a little bit luckier than the ones that were cornered by the leopards earlier.
We have got some squirrels busy giving an alarm call in front of us here now. Coming towards the end of the show, and of course we've made a loop back towards quarantine clearings, which is where we opened the show this morning with those leopard, or very close to the opening of the leopard in any case, or opening of the show. My gut feel tells me that these leopard are not too far away from where we are right now. And it's just given us some time here to just stop and listen in the bush to see if anything else is giving an alarm call. Of course, squirrels get nervous for everything. And sharing my house at the moment with a squirrel in Hoedspruit, I know that the little male that we've got, which my son lovingly calls Hiccup, has he gets scared for everything. He gets scared when you brush your teeth or you do something out of the ordinary. So squirrels are generally quite nervous things. And so I'm just standing here just to make sure that we can properly just cover where that sound is coming from. It also gives me a chance to tell you a little bit about this flower, because I've showed it once or twice before this season, but they're quite sensitive to the amount of water in the sand, and quite often they start wilting very quickly. But because we've had so much rain, they're lovely flowers that we can see now. This is called the Hyena. There's the inside of the Hyena. And local Shangaan moms, the tribe that lives in this area, the Shangaans, mothers will collect tufts of these flowers and hang them above their children's beds at night as a good luck charm. It promotes sweet dreams, is the tale around this particular flower. So these Hyena flowers are collected in bunches and then hung above children's beds to promote sweet dreams. And I just think it's a fantastic sort of story that goes with a very pretty flower. On the inside over there you can see lots of detail. And just the moms out here doing that for their kids. So while I'm not going to sleep anytime soon, it's a good idea to put some on my head while we're looking for these leopard, because I think they're around here somewhere. Now, we're on a game path. It's pretty thick where we are standing at the moment, and it is not very good, doesn't bode well for finding leopard, who will hear you coming from a million miles away and sort of sneak away from you, particularly these youngsters. We're going to give it a bash in the last couple of minutes of being here. Another flower that I want to show you that's also drought specific is this Evolvus. One of the very first flowers, in actual fact the second flower I ever learned how to identify. The first one was Oldenlandia, and the second one was this one, the Evolvus alcinoides, or the blue haze as it's commonly known in this particular area. Just another pretty flower. So the two of them together make for quite a nice decoration, methinks. The Hermania and the Evolvus. While I'm walking around looking for these leopard, it'd be a bad idea to start picking flowers. Just lets you concentrate on the bush around you and let the bush just settle as you're busy walking through it. It gives you time to look underneath all these covers. Quite often leopard will literally lie underneath a bush right next to you, and you walk straight past them without even knowing that they're there. This has got a lot of thorns on, so just be careful when you come past here. I'm of course talking to VM, who's holding the camera for you, and because he's concentrating on the screen, he doesn't always see the snags and the holes and the pitfalls. Alrighty, this is exactly where this squirrel was alarm calling from, or two. And so now what happens is you've got to put your head on a bit of a swivel, and you've literally just got to look for that ear flick, or a tail flick, or a growl, or a sudden movement to sort of betray to sort of betray
for Stef and his frozen screen. The again are attacking it. I'm going to say it's the form of a herd of zebra. It is also just seen the ones that walked right past our car. They've decided to come up and graze on quarantine, which is not a bad decision. But this is where Karula was left, somewhere around here. I can't seem to find her or her little one, so perhaps they have moved. But I'd be very careful if I were the zebra, because that foal, the youngest foal, is tiny. It is really small. It probably weighs round about the same weight of a fully grown impala ram. So I'd be careful. I'd be more afraid though if it was Tingana that was up here on quarantine, because I reckon he'd go for a young zebra foal, no problem. Might be a little bit too big for Karula, but you never know. She might take a chance, especially that she's always got two hungry bellies that she needs to feed. And when you have the appetite that Hosana has, I think the only thing that could maybe sustain his appetite is if Karula caught a buffalo, and then he was able to feast upon that for days and days and days. I'm sure he'd be very happy about that. But she won't go after a buffalo. And I don't know if she'd be brave enough to take on this entire zebra herd either. They can be quite savage, these creatures. You've often heard James tell stories about how he's been bitten. I've been kicked by I don't know how many horses, and I've been chopped at accidentally too, just standing in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it is painful. With something like a leopard coming through here, I'd be very careful, because you wouldn't want to end up on the bad side of, well, that of a stallion as well. And he can be quite protective over his mares. And I think for something like a leopard, they'd probably get a fright and alarm and run away. But I reckon they might stand their ground. I've seen it a few times, lots of video footage, especially of wildebeest coming back and fighting for their life, for their little ones. So to a point, they will try and help their young. But if it is a lion, they will definitely run away. They don't want to risk their own lives. They know they can just have another foal or calf again. Craig, did you find that funny? Craig gave a little giggle. Shame. It's tough life out here. It's very harsh for these animals. The things that they see, they must have lots of stories to tell. That's why I wish that I could speak to animals, because can you imagine the things that I'd be able to tell you? But we're coming now to the last moments of the show. Sadly, but we'll be around again for the sunset safari, and it has been really a pleasant morning. We've had all the cats, we've had the royal family, we've had the Nkuhumas. Brilliant. We had our hyenas and our little cubs, and Stef has showed you unbelievable insects and flowers as he normally does. It's great to have him back again. I'm not sure when he'll be doing a walk again, though, maybe this afternoon. But from all of us here at Wild Earth, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you all again for your constant support. Remember to join us this afternoon for the Sunset Safari. Catch you later.